Hello, folks. It's Tuesday again. It's been 2 weeks since our last show, so it's time for us to hang out again. Today we have Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. As always, my name is Todor, and I'm back with the 72nd episode of Keeping It Realistic, that show that we do in collaboration with Chaos, and that is very much dedicated to all of you, the beautiful, lovely Chaos Campus community. I already see Michael, I see Amit in the chat. Hello, my friends. Welcome to this episode. Once again, no matter if you're watching this live here with us or watching the recording later, we appreciate you both ways and very much hope that you will be enjoying yourself. Of course, shout out to those of you who are here with us because you guys make those sessions really, really exciting. Now, today we're gathered to talk about designing and visualizing small interiors, which is a topic which isn't only relevant for our ongoing exercise, but also to all of us who actually do something like that on a day-to-day basis in our work. And to discuss this topic, I invited a lovely guest. She is an interior designer, 3D artist, creative director, and a gamer. And she also won 2025's VizPro of the Year award. So you can say she knows her stuff. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me straight from Niš, Serbia, Stefana Ristić. Hi, Steph.
Hi, guys. Hi, Dio.
Nice to have you here. The gang is already in the comments, active and willing to hear about you, to hear from you. Now, before we jump into today's topic, we'd actually love to know more about you, not only in terms of what you achieved and your current position, but also in a personal sense. Like, where did your journey start? Who were you back then? What goals and dreams did you have? And when, where, and who are you now, and what changed along the way? Did everything go as planned, or was it, let's say, turned out in an unexpected way? Tell us about yourself, please.
Cool. Thank you, Tio, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for everyone who's going to watch this episode, whether now or later. So you pretty much summed it up about myself. You had a great introduction. I actually put it all in my presentation so I can share it like in a better way so you can see what I prepared. Here we go. Let me know if you're seeing.
Whatever works for you, honestly.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, as we said, this is today's topic: designing and visualizing small interiors. But of course, you want to know more about me. As you mentioned, I'm a 3D artist and architect and interior designer from Niš, Serbia. And I graduated from the Faculty of Architecture and Civil Engineering, where I got my bachelor degree in interior design. And since then, I've worked in darkroom studio. I worked there for 7 years. I was there as a junior artist, senior, and now for past 3.5 years, I've been working as a creative director.
There's a real growth there, right? Junior, senior, creative director. Soon you'll be a CEO, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe. Who knows? Hopefully. Yeah. But that's what I'm doing now, and that's my life now. But I actually want to talk first about how I got here. That was actually your question, and I think that's important to know the path which I took and what inspired me to pursue my career. And it all basically comes from my hobbies and interests that date back to when I was young, when I was a child. And I'm going to walk you through them. One of the most important ones, as you mentioned, is gaming. I loved gaming since I was, very, very young. I'm a 90s kid, so I started playing games like Super Mario on my Nintendo Switch. Back then it was called differently. I can't really remember the name, but I played all the Nintendo games, and that really hooked me up on in the gaming world. And when I got my first PC, actually, when my sister got her first PC, and when I was able to play on her PC the games, uh, so one of the most important game for me was The Sims. It's an obvious one, of course, when you finish as an interior designer, but it was like really, really inspiring for me. Uh, and later on, I played like a lot of different PC games, like GTA San Andreas, where I like to, barge into the houses and look at how the interiors looked like, even though that was not the point of the game. I was just really interested in how everything looked like inside. So yeah, you could say like from a young age, I was drawn to that. And later on, I got to gaming like a bit more, even more. I started like playing some other games. I recently bought my first PS console, and one of my favorite games now, as you can see here, is Horizon.
Horizon.
Sorry, yeah,
Horizon is awesome.
Horizon. Yeah,
Part one is awesome. Okay, let's agree on that. Maybe.
yeah, yeah. One of my favorite games. I do have like a lot of new favorite games now, but like that's the most important one to me. And
Let me interrupt you here for a second. You're not alone. Looking at the chat, Amit saying here he played lots of Super Mario Contra.
yeah,
Contra was awesome. Michael, me and my wife still play Super Mario. By the way, I also played at home with with the whole family Super Mario Kart 8, whatever, like on the Switch, um, and Tetris, the Expo. It seems like a lot of our audience here is into gaming, was or maybe still is into gaming.
yeah, I think that's cool. I mean, it kind of is connected to the visualization industry and gaming industry. We're both creative sides, so I think it's like inspiring for all of us, I guess. And even though a lot of these games that I play are not really strictly connected to interior design itself, they still evoke my inspiration and my creative side for not just interior visuals, but like for many other visuals that I do. And I think it's important to have like a hobby like this or an interest like this, so you never know where you're gonna find your inspiration and what's gonna like get you thinking about a new project. Yeah, gaming is really like one of the most important parts of what inspired me to pursue my career.
I love
Uh,
hearing this, honestly. I just
yeah,
love it.
yeah. Well, it was either gaming or interior design. So yeah. But on that note, the next important interest of mine, so to say, was the movies, the cinema. And I really love watching movies from young age. I was inspired with the movies my parents watched and my sister watched, and I think they're just a perfect work of art in a way that they represent everything like through movement, through colors, framing, music, the acting, the actors themselves. And uh to me, they're personally a great inspiration for camera framing, for how you treat light and how you treat colors. And the three movies I put up here are like my biggest inspiration to date, and I always love coming back to them and watching them again. I think they are perfect in every sense, story wise, like look wise, and everything. So if anyone's interested in watching them, they can take a quick screenshot of my screen and save them for later.
We have the recording. One can
Yeah.
always
Oh
go
yeah,
back to
that
this.
also. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. I always forget about that one. And yeah, the third one I put up, and it's not my last one, but is photography. And I started exploring this field when I was in college. Uh, and I still do take photos to this day as a hobby. And I think it's a good practice for the eye, and it helps me to always like look for inspiration in the world around me. Because as I said about the gaming, it also stands for the photography. You never know where you're gonna find the inspiration. um, and noticing the details in the world around you, I think it helps you to better understand how to achieve realism and to translate that uh, into your visuals. So this, all the photos here that you see now are my photos, and I've taken them like on my travels to through my country or through Europe. So I was firstly inspired by the architecture, of course, when I started to study it. But then more and more as I traveled, I started to be inspired by anything else, basically the nature, the people, just the moments that like happened while I was there, because they are there at that one time and never again. And I took like that as a big inspiration for me, and I do love to still do that and have like just a bunch of photos that I can use as a reference. And I think that a lot of visual artists in our field do you use this and do this to have like better visuals. So that are my big three, and that's what basically inspired me to pursue my career.
I have a
And
small question here. What do you use to take those photos? Is it your phone or do you have a camera?
while some of these are taken by phone, some of these are taken by my digital camera. This is my old Fujifilm camera, and one of or two of these, three of these were taken by my analog camera, actually. So it's a mix. I like to explore to see.
Which one do you prefer?
Well, definitely, I don't know. I really loved doing photos with the analog camera, because that moment of waiting, how are they gonna turn out? It's just priceless. And then when you see how they turn out, and when you see they don't really need that much of a touch up, they just, you know, uh, turned out really great. It's a totally different feeling than to like a digital camera or the phone, where you can just see right away how it looks like. I mean, that's a advantage of those cameras, of phone and digital camera, of course. But it all has like their good and bad sides. So
It's a trio of the limitation, I would say. With an analog camera, you have those 30 shots, and if you screw them up, then that's it.
yeah,
Like,
exactly, exactly. So at one point, I used to take both my cameras to my travels, and I was like, yeah, that's too much. Like I can't like be going doing that. Like I don't know where to put which camera. So yeah, I kind of stopped doing analog. It became too expensive.
yeah.
That's also the problem.
And those equipment suitcases, they're actually quite big if you have multiple lenses and stuff like this. And it's extremely expensive. Like photography can go into the hundreds of thousands quite quickly, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it can, it can. It's a expensive sport, as we like to say here in Serbia.
But yeah, but looking at the images here, the analog camera, the digital one, and the phone, there isn't such a huge difference. So I don't know which photos have been taken by a phone. I can eventually try to guess. But looking at it, I think it's okay to take photos with a phone unless you really want them for, let's say, gallery exhibition, or you want to implement an image, or let's say exterior design in it or something like this. But if it's just for creating your own references, testing your own skill, or challenging yourself, I think a phone is more than enough most of the times.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Tio. And it's a good way to have it, like because as I said, and as you mentioned, the cameras can have like a lot of lens and stuff like that, and the time it takes to put it out and make a good shot, yeah, you may lose it. So the phone can really help in that timing situation. But yeah, like if you know how to treat your photos after taking them, and by that I mean like, you know, post process them in Photoshop or Lightroom or whatever, they can turn out as good as the digital ones. But yeah.
There's a question, but first of all, the audience really loves the photos, and secondly, there is a question regarding the last one, the bottom corner on the right. Where is it taken from? Like from a drone, from a helicopter, just from a mountain peak?
It was taken from a mountain peak. It's a mountain called Tara here in Serbia, and it's a border between Serbia and Bosnia and Herzegovina. And basically, this is the site. I was standing in Serbia, but I was taking a photo of Bosnia. So
Nice,
it was a really cool moment to see this and to capture this. It looks like a drone shot, but actually this is my analog photo of this area.
fantastic one, honestly. All the photos are very, very cool, and I really like the sampler that you made here. So different, so interesting to look at.
Yeah,
So you're good at it.
thank
Another thing you're good at.
you. Yeah, thank you, Dia. Thank you. I think this was important to show to people who are starting to do this or are into visualization, and I think this is going to help them see how can they, navigate their eye, how can they, uh, make an exercise for themselves to look at the things that are happening in the world around them. Yeah, it's inspiring, definitely in its own way.
Do you do post production on all photos, or how is it? Only the ones that you like and you want to add to your photo portfolio?
Only the ones I like, and I tend to not do much of post production because when I do take photos, it's because I almost in 90% of the situations I already like the lighting and I already like the moment. For instance, for the analog photos, it's the camera can give them their own filter, and that's why it's exciting to wait and develop them, because you never know how they're gonna look like, what colors are gonna pop out, and what's gonna happen with them and with the light. So yeah, I tend to do less of post production, but here and there, if it works, I think it's gonna bring the image better together. Yeah, I do it, but yeah, that's pretty much it.
Have you tried black and white analog photography?
Yeah, I did. I didn't try it with the film, actually, because, as I said, it was expensive.
Yeah.
I did turn some of my photos, analog photos, into black and white, and yeah, I actually use those in my portfolio.
I can only recommend it. It's a great exercise because it's mostly about lighting, contrast, composition. It's not about color anymore. And you don't know, you don't see them. There is no preview. Just you try to imagine what you see, but in black and white, including the filters that you were talking about, like the film grain, the noise, and all of this, which the black and white film may add, depending on the camera, of course. So try it out. It's a fantastic exercise. I remember doing it many, many years ago while I was studying. I borrowed an analog camera with a black and white film, and yeah, I remember just searching for the motive and being very, very cautious not to, because as you said, it's expensive, um, to not take too many photos or stupid photos, because yeah, then I would have wasted them and wasted money. But it was a great exercise. I still remember to this day, like 20 years later.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is. And I'm gonna listen to you, Tia, and I'm gonna do it definitely.
And please share the photos. I'll be curious to see them. Looking at the
Yeah,
others, they will be amazing, better than
yeah,
mine.
sure, I will. And that's actually the little, so to say, little intro about me. and about my hobbies and interests that inspired me to pursue the architecture. I actually wanted to study the interior design here in Niš, but it was like not really good idea. They didn't want. Uh, they had only 5 people apply, and it was not really easy to get in. So my sister actually studied architecture, and she was like, "Yeah, you have that on this college, so you can just go there." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" But that, you know, turned out to be a really good idea because it got me here. So, and with all of the interests I had, it really made sense for me to pursue that, and of course, end up where I am now. So I hope this inspires a lot of people that are watching and are going to watch, uh, and make them, have their own moves in life, so to say.
It absolutely is inspiring, at least the way I find it, because it's something which started as a hobby or as a passion of yours, turned into a very successful job. And yeah, it seems like you also improvised along the way. You wanted to do interior design, you went for architecture. So it just doing what you like, but also being flexible enough to, change paths when needed, not just sit there and complain and, just say that it's everybody's fault and the world is against you. This doesn't really help. Just do something else, find a solution. And as
Yeah,
it seems, it works in the end.
yeah, exactly. And it's actually funny because when I finished college, I applied to do like architecture, only the architecture, not like visualization. And the company that I first applied for, I didn't really like their terms. And then I applied to Darkroom, and we only do visualization there. And it was actually something that made more sense to me at the end, like, because I can do whatever I want because we had clients, and we still do have clients from all over the world, and I'm not just concentrated on the people from Serbia. So it's interesting how the life finds its ways, I guess.
Exactly. I think if you're persistent, put in the work, and generally head in a direction, even if it doesn't work out exactly the way you imagine it, you'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and I think that's the story about me and how I got where I am now. And I don't know if people have like more questions about this part. If they don't right now, they can always ask at the end when the Q&A starts. And of course, I can start now with our today's topic, if
You're
that's
doing a
okay.
great job, by the way. You can do the show on your own. I wanted to talk about the Q&A, but you already mentioned it, so I can just sit here in silence. It's so easy with you, honestly. I have a question there. What do you enjoy more in the end? Is it interior design? Is it visualizing, being a creative director, or gaming? What is it what you enjoy the most? Like, doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the others, but what is it that you enjoy the most?
Oof, these days, gaming. Well, I don't know. I interior designing gaming are something that I enjoy the best, I think. I still play The Sims to this day. That's the only game I have on my PC. So I think that speaks for itself. But I think that interior design and visualization, that was something that I wanted to mention. But yeah, it's good to mention it right now. I think they go hand in hand, because the visualization really do helps you uh, to see how your interior design is going to look like beforehand, before it happens. And it's the tool that uh, now makes it easier for you to imagine your space than it was like 50 or I don't know how many years ago. So they go hand in hand for me. I like both because for me the visualization is a tool to get to the idea that I had in my head.
And
Or
to test your concept, to see
And
if
to
it
test my
works.
concept. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that do go hand in hand. So yeah. But I do love interior design. I do love gaming. When I come home from work, like 90% of the time, I'm going straight up to gaming and playing something. So yeah, I
Should have
think.
made a talk on gaming, not on interior design, but maybe we have a second episode next year or something. But there is a question here by Amit wanting to know why you picked interior design over something else, because you could have been a game tester or a game dev eventually, even.
Oh well, when I started when I applied for my college that year, there was in my country there was not much of a voice about the gaming. Uh, yeah, we don't have schools here for it. We didn't have. No, I think we do have now. Oh, you can't. You can learn basically, and like yeah, you can learn now from the internet, but the internet now and back then, like 15 years ago or something like that, it's maybe less 10 years ago when I applied my college, the internet was not the same. And yeah, it was like I thought about it, of course, but it was not something that I thought I could have done here where I live. So that's also a tricky thing. The location where you're born, it either can help you or not really help you, so to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have loved to pursue gaming, but yeah, uh, I'm here now as a consumer of games.
Well, yeah, people need to also understand that we as millennials. I don't know how old you are, and I want to ask you. I don't want to ask you, but I'm 40, so I was born in '85, and in the beginning, I grew up together with gaming. In the beginning, gaming was a absolutely niche thing. It wasn't for the masses. In the meantime, it is one of the biggest entertainment industries out there, bigger than music, bigger than movies, believe it or not. But in the beginning, it was just for, a handful of people who I feel made the games because they didn't have any, made them mostly for themselves, and also sold them in order to make some money out of it or to finance their next project. But yeah, gaming has developed rapidly and immensely in the last years. So when you think, let's say, as I came to Germany 22 years ago to study, gaming wasn't such a big thing to study, like become a game dev as it is today. So just to put things a bit into perspective.
Yeah, I agree with you too. That's a valid point, and that's the same reason, like why I didn't pursue gaming. I am 31. It's not a problem to tell. I am younger than you, but we come like from, well, so to say, similar age where that it was complicated to pursue that. Like in 2013, when I wanted to start my college years, yeah, I don't know which games came out that year, but they were not that developed as the ones they are now. The games that we have now are just really really pure art. So it's on a totally different level. Yeah.
Agree. We can argue about the games now and back then because I personally think that games back then were done with more passion and with less business thinking behind them. Because once again, people did them to play them themselves, and you can feel it. If you play, let's say, I'm into shooters. If you play Quake, something like this, which is so many years old by now, and it's gameplay wise, it still absolutely holds up. Nowadays, games tend to be, made as a part of a schedule. Like we need to put out a new Call of Duty out there every 6 months or once a year so that we make money and give money to the shareholders and all of this. And you can feel this. It's a lot about politics, about all of those things which wasn't there back then. Back then it was about the fun of gaming, and this was the major point of this industry, which shifted, which is I think normal. But yeah, I think everything which turns into business at some point kind of becomes worse. This is because this creative freedom and absolute freedom to do whatever you please isn't there anymore. You have people that you employ, that you need to pay salaries to, so you need to make money, so you need to put out projects. And once these things start happening, it's not that great. But this is a topic of a different talk. Maybe if I see you on the World Visualization Festival, if you go, then we can have a beer talk on this one.
Yeah, of course. I would love to do that with you, Theo, for sure.
Ditto.
Well, I think that without further ado, we can go to the main topic, and if people uh, are ready to start with it, I surely am. We talked about gaming, and like I said, like we mentioned, Q&A is after the presentation, so anyone is free to ask me anything after I finish with it. Um, so let's start. First, I'm going to talk about the fact that the interior design itself is a huge topic, of course. And I was a bit nervous, making this presentation to see if I'm gonna be able to put everything that's important in it. But I just realized it's not it's not gonna happen.
No, not
It's
possible.
possible. But jokes aside, I try to summarize it in the presentation that's going to be uh, very, that's going to dive into the most basic and most important things you're going to face when you design the small spaces. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is, of course, the importance of this topic. Then I'm going to go to of course, the what is good interior design, or what is interior design basically. And then I'm going to talk about a bit of about the challenges in designing and understanding the small spaces, because it is challenging to do design. And then I'm going to talk about where to start with your project, because that's important. And then I'm going to talk about, of course, visualizing small spaces, and I'm going to give you some references to have and go about. Um, so, the first thing, why is this topic important? Uh, we have the most, you know, obvious thing, that's urban density increasing. Uh, the big cities like New York, Tokyo, and London have been facing this problem for quite some time, and population is increasing everywhere in the world, and small spaces are part of the solution. The good example of this solution is a capsule tower designed by Japanese architect Kisho Kurokawa. He designed it in 1970, and he designed it like a whole apartment in just a one cube for one person. If you're interested, you can look it up. It's really intriguing how he came up with that design. Uh, the second obvious one is, of course, affordability and pricing. It's you know Majority of the population can't really afford big houses and big apartments, so the smaller homes are something that's a great solution, of course. Uh, the third one is that architecture is for people. And what that means is, if you look at this Da Vinci's diagram that I put up here on the right, it's something that professors use in architecture school to articulate the space that one person occupies and needs to live comfortably. Uh, all the standard measurements we know for the interior design, such as kitchen counter height, chairs height, and so on, are designed according to the optimal measurements of people. Designing any space but especially a small one, requires you to constantly think about a person you're doing it for. So it's important to know the measurements, and that's why I said that architecture is for people. And of course, like Theo mentioned, you have like amazing Chaos Campus project that it's on your way, and I just wanted to add to it. And people who want to work on it, I wanted to teach something they can, you know, to make a good example for them, basically, so they can start their project in the right way. So the next thing is what is good interior design? Uh, it's more than actually putting the nice furniture and decoration in a space. It's not just putting designer sofas and tables into a room. It's actually understanding the space you're designing. The interior needs to make sense and it needs to be functional. And you always need to think of an interesting way to showcase a space for everyday use, and always work on a way to design a custom furniture like TV unit, a bookshelf, kitchen, and etc. Because that's gonna give that space more story to tell. Uh, it's of course understanding the person and their needs in the process of designing. You always have to ask yourself, who is this for and how is this person going to use this space? Um, you can think about implementing those things into a design, sometimes making them a centerpiece of design. Hobbies and interests of people can largely influence this and make it actually more interesting. And I'm going to show you like my project later on, how I made this happen in one interior. Uh, and of course, good interior design is making the space feel like art and home. Uh, the place feels like home when it has a personal touch. That means incorporating something the person loves to do into your design. To make it feel like art is a part where your skills as a designer come to life. You can always propose your creative ideas to your client if they're open for them, of course. But I think the important thing to mention here is that not all the design you're going to do for your clients is going to be 100% design you're going to like in the end. And while this is unfortunate, it's important to know uh, what you can do in a process of designing, as I mentioned, is trying to navigate your client towards the solution that makes sense from designer perspective. Um, from that point, we can go to challenges in designing small space. Um, while small spaces can have a tricky layout and are tricky to design, the limitation of the used space can really inspire you to think critically, and it can be fun for people who like problem solving. And I put up here a couple of topics about what's challenging in designing this, and I'm going to go through all of them so you can see what I mean. It's the limited square footage, multifunctional requirements that you're going to need, storage constraints. You're going to have to maintain functionality, avoid visual clutter. You're going to have to think about furniture scale. Because in a small space, there's no space for big sofas and big tables and stuff like that. I'm gonna tell you something about balancing aesthetics with practicality, lighting limitations, and how to create that sense of openness in small spaces, which is, I think, the most important thing. So limited square footage, it's the obvious one. Uh, you can see that here on the reference on the right that the space is used to its maximum potential, and that its elements uh, that I'm going to talk about in the next parts of the and that its elements are uh, incorporated in every inch of space. And I'm going to talk about that later, of course, in the presentation. Functional layout is really crucial for the well-being and everyday tasks performed in this space. You can see here that we have like a hallway and a living room, and it's a really tight space. Uh, and you have like all this storage put together, so it's the space was used to its maximum potential. Um, Hand in hand goes the multifunctional requirements. That means that rooms are often gonna serve more than one purpose. As you can see on the references I put out, sorry. Examples are like having a living room and a dining room together. You're gonna have sometimes the bedroom and the home office in that bedroom, and yeah, like a reference we had on a on a previous slide. It's a hallway with the storage space, and on these references, you can see that on the upper one we have like a living room, and there's also a home office, and on down one, it's a kitchen with a dining table and just a small space for a TV unit. So that's what happens basically with smaller spaces. Um, Next one that's of course connected to the two previous ones is the storage constraints. Small spaces often lack storage spaces, uh, whether it be closets or cabinets, and this requires you to have like creative and practical storage solutions. And well, this is crucial and requires you to think of a way to add storage to every room. It's important to not overdo it and not like go crazy about, okay, I'm going to put my storage. Am I going to put it in this corner or every corner? You don't have to do that. You just need to communicate how much storage does the person need, the person that you're doing the design for. And the reference I put up here, it's of course a storage, both storage space and a kitchen. And I put it up. I think it was a really good reference because while we have storage implemented in the space really nicely, we do have these curved edges. They are really popular now in design, but the reason they are popular in small spaces is because they give you that sense of bit of openness. Because if you're imagining yourself coming from this hallway that you can see behind the kitchen and you want to turn left or right, you can bump into an edge and like potentially hurt yourself. It's a stretch, but it can happen. So these round corners make for a really nice touch in the design and practicality altogether. So some of these things are like really cool to think about and have them in your design. Um, so the next one is maintaining functionality. Uh, the space must still support daily activities like sleeping, cooking, working, watching TV, and so on, without it feeling cramped. I know that this may sound like tricky, but you know, with the right measurements, you can, of course, make that happen. When I started like researching for this presentation, I was like, oh my god, they do have to know about all these measurements that I learned on my college days. And then I stopped and I was like, yeah, but I learned that for years. I'm not gonna give you all the measurements now. Of course, it's impossible, but I think it's important to mention that you have to be aware of them and that you can study them. I think they are the same, uh, like throughout every nation, every country. I think they pretty much cover the same sizes. But I put up here some of the examples. Like, it's important to know, what is the width of one person while moving, and it's important to know the smallest measurement for two people who pass by one another. And I have it all put up here. I'm not sure from which countries or people are listening. I use the metric system
From everywhere.
from everywhere. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
That's
International audience here to the
yeah,
max.
amazing. So I'm sorry if I don't mention always inches or feet, but I don't know how to translate that in real time. But I try to put that up as much as I could in my presentation. Uh, but some of the standard measurements here is like, this is a kitchen space, kitchen counter. You always have this one unit that is like 60 by 60 and a height of 90. And that's something like every architect and every interior design uses. So it's important to learn this. And I think that people who already did the interior design know this. But I just had to put it out there because of the people who may yet to learn this about this topic. Um, Avoiding visual clutter. This is an interesting one. Um, so, too many objects, colors, or patterns can really overwhelm you, not just like in a big room, well, not just in a small space, in every space, but especially in a small space. So, my advice, and I think that advice for of any interior designer, is to use natural and light colors while adding the vivid colors and or patterns as an accent part of the space. Patterns are best used in a small amounts and on smaller areas of the spaces. And if you really want that clean look, you can avoid adding too much decor or too much clutter. I put up this reference. It's maybe not 100% like best reference for uh like a bad reference, I would call it, for visual clutter. While there's parts of this space that I like and that I don't like, but I just wanted to give you an example of how too many colors and too many patterns and too many different pieces of furniture can look like in a tight space. uh, for some people, this is something they like and they enjoy. And as I said, parts of this I really do like as well. But for some people, it can be overwhelming, especially if that's a space that you're going to spend your everyday in. So, like blue, yellow color, that's all cool. But I think it would be better if it was, not so much in there and in your face. Of course, the design itself, it's kind of clean. We have clean shapes, clean edges, and stuff like that. But if we did put like more simpler tones on some parts of a kitchen, for instance, I think it would look a lot more clean and a lot more pleasing to the viewer's eye.
Totally
Um,
agree. If I may tune in here, this is a really interesting example. I think for this specific image from this specific angle, it looks cool. It does. But when we design something, we should try to imagine that not only this one angle in this particular situation we look at for a minute, but we should try to imagine living there day for day, seeing this, and coming home tired from work and seeing this scenery. Will we still enjoy it, or is it going to be overwhelming and kind of we'll get tired of it pretty soon? I can imagine.
yeah, you're totally right, Theo. That was my point, basically. And again, varies, of course. It depends on who you're designing it for. That's what I mentioned before, and I'm going to mention it a couple more times. It's important to know the person you're designing for, because while someone may like this and it has no problem living in this kind of space, some other person is not going to enjoy it, and it's not going to be visually appealing for them to be in that space, so to say, 24/7. But yeah, it's definitely a thing to think about. As you said, imagine yourself in that space all the time, and the person you're doing it for. So the next one is furniture, scale, and fit. Uh, Standard size furniture may not fit properly, or it can dominate the space you're designing. It's important to choose wisely the furniture that fits the proportions of the apartment or the house that you're working on. And I put this reference because of this dining table. As you can see, you're limited to have like a smaller dining table option in this space because it's smaller space. You have a kitchen and dining room together in one room. And it, probably this designer had like an importance of having a dining table. The clients wanted it. So this can be a really cool solution, and it was cool that it's in accent color. It's everything has its natural colors, beige, brown, white, and the accent is on the green table that's actually smaller, and that can really help in making that part of space separated actually from the kitchen, because you don't have the space for the dining room and for bigger dining table. Its color is actually making you look at it and making you feel like it's a separate room. Um, and this topic is correlated with balancing aesthetics and practicality. They go hand in hand because stylish choices can't really compromise the usability of storage needs. Sometimes you have to compromise and avoid using the furniture piece that you like or that the client likes because of the size of the space. The visual that I put up here, I'm gonna show it a couple more times throughout the presentation. This is like a really, you can't really see it maybe here, but this is a really small space, and it was really weird because it had like a difficult roof and stuff like that, and had the limitations. And the client wanted like this really, really big sofa. He wanted this L-shaped sofa. It was important to him. And we had to like go through this bunch of websites and stuff like that to find the perfect sofa that's gonna fit and look right, and that he's going to like, of course, and that I'm going to be comfortable putting in my interior design, of course. So it's a thing to think about, of course, when you're in that design process. You have to go through like all of these websites, all of these things that and find like the better solution. And you're gonna find, of course, cheaper solution. That's upper side of it, better side of it, of course.
So this is a project of yours, right?
Sorry?
This is a project of yours.
Yeah,
Okay.
project of mine. I'm gonna show it a couple more times. It was a really tricky one. It's a perfect project to show like limitations that I had while designing it, while also trying to navigate my client on doing some of the cool stuff that he can have in his space. Yeah,
Very cool.
thank you. um the next one is, it's a really important one. It's lighting limitations. So small interiors may lack natural light. This is the this happens very often, and I think that happens also in the project that Theo gave you, that you don't have like very too many open spaces, too many windows or doors, and this is normal, of course. Uh, this makes the space feel darker and more confined, and we don't want that, of course. Uh, we want the space to feel open because it also affects your daily mood, of course. And this thing also affects the visuals of the interiors as well. And I'm going to talk about that in the segment about the visualizing small spaces. Um, and the last but not the least challenge is how to create the sense of openness in a small space. Um, the way to go is to use, of course, light colors, mirrors, and artificial lighting to make the space feel larger. These are really great tricks and really do help while designing. Dark colors can really overpower a small space and really close it off. They can be used, of course, but uh, if if you really want to open up the space, I think it's better to go with lighter colors. Big mirror surfaces are also a really great trick, as you can see on this reference here on the right. So this is actually a really cool reference. They did put up the mirror, really big mirror surface, and also like these cove lights that made it like shine and illuminate. So you can see like in the reflection of the mirror that we have a kitchen here, we have also bedroom here, and we have a living room. And someone thought of a great way to make the space larger by putting mirrors around the storage space. And I think it's not only the storage space, I think the part of it this is inside is actually a
Excellent.
bathroom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really cool way of thinking, and cool way of representing the space and opening it up. Mirrors are quite interesting thing. Of course, don't overdo them. You don't want your whole house being in mirrors. It's gonna be tricky for your mind. But you use them in some corners that really need attention. Um,
About the practicality though, like I love the solution here, absolutely understand it, and I think it's great. But like you have a kitchen and next to it you have so many mirrors, like, you know, as somebody who's in charge of cleaning up at home, my immediate question, and as somebody who lives in Germany, you know, this is how people here are. You show them a castle which is beautiful, and the first thing a German will tell you is how so many windows to clean. So in this particular case, what's the practicality? Like, mirrors next to the kitchen, is it really practical, or that maybe there is some protective layer that can put on mirrors so that they don't get that dirty or something like this?
well, yeah, I think that mirrors can have that protective layers. This mirror is tinted in bronze, so I think that it may have some of the protective layers. But this is also the thing, like you can present this to a client and he can say, no, this is too much work. I'm going to have to be cleaning it all the time. Or he can go, yeah, this looks cool. I don't mind cleaning it, because you do have people who don't mind that. So it's just actually the what the client wants. It's about that. It's about the thing, if they're ready for that design, to embrace it, or they're gonna discharge it. So you can, of course, present something like this, and if they don't like it, you can go some other way. If they're cool with it, it's a cool thing to show in a presentation like I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, because you said it in the very beginning, that, you know, things need to make sense. It's not just about nice looks, it's about delivering something which is useful to the people who live there. So obviously a flashy image is always great to look at, but we need to keep in mind that there is functionality, there is practicality, and this is also something when any, as you said, like with the mirrors. If you have mirrors everywhere, obviously the space will look way larger, but
Yeah.
you'll probably go nuts. And first of all, and then you have to clean the whole time. So it's not that great of a solution, right? So it's about balance, I would say, or the way I imagine it.
Yeah, you're totally right. It is about the balance, and it is about playing around with that balance and with the just overall thought, of course, and see if someone is going to accept it. But yeah, you're totally right, and I agree. Um,
I should have
and
been an interior designer.
yeah, goes great. I mean, after all the presentations you heard, Theo, I think that you're ready for it.
I'll write a book or something, yeah.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
But you
Me,
guys are doing a great job. Meg, Ines, you now. It's just such a pleasure. It's like free master classes from very pleasant people to hang out with. I love my job, honestly.
well, thank you, Theo, and I like doing this with you. Of course, it's really nice. It's really cool. Um, but yeah, that's about the mirrors. They're tricky. But other things that you can use, and I'm gonna finish off with this uh, topic, is the use of glass, and it can make the space feel more airy and also, of course, more open. I'm gonna show you my project where I used glass later on. Um, and of course, the lack of the natural light that I talked about before. This can be compromised with artificial light. Like here, it's compromised with this cover lighting. Uh, you can add like spots of lights from ceiling. You can add lamps, cover lighting in some other spaces. Let me go back to like this visual. Like I have cool lighting above the vanity mirrors and stuff like that. Of course, that goes without saying that you don't have to, or that you can't overdo it. It's You can, but it's not going to look great. It's the same as with mirrors. So it's the balance, like the Tia said. It's the balance basically. Um, so that's why the visualization is a great tool for interior designers. You can try it out right away. You can like pop a light and see, okay, this works or this doesn't work. So it's an amazing thing that we have it right now. Of course. Um, but knowing this, that all of the things that I said, and more things that I hope you're going to learn, and that you have learned in the previous presentations that the great ladies gave you, uh, you're gonna have to know where to start with designing. And that means that you're gonna have to know what are the important rooms when starting, important furniture, and when it's time to decorate, because there's a time for that, trust me. And what are the client's priority, and what are your personal priorities if you're doing a personal project. So the important spaces, when you're reviewing the entire apartment or house layout, consider which room or space is most important for the client or for you. In the most cases, this is the living room, as it is the primary area where people gather and spend the most time. And the kitchen and dining room typically follow this importance, as they also serve key social and functional. They also serve as key functional spaces within the home. So it's basically a space that you're going to spend the most time in. Um, it's not wrong to start from the bathroom, for instance, but that's not the space that's going to dictate the style of design that you're going to use through the rest of the space. Um, I think that like uniqueness of the space comes from these spaces that uh, people gather on the most of, and they spend the most time there. So I think it's important to start from them. Like it's always gonna be the living room, but like if you have some chef, I don't know, maybe gonna want to see the kitchen. But yeah, uh, and of course the importance follows. Like you can go to bedrooms after that and to bathrooms. Um, so yeah,
And they all have to have the same style, and this style is dictated by the main spaces, which in most cases are living rooms, dining rooms, those open spaces, right? So that you have a harmonious interior design. Do I get it right?
exactly. Well, the thing is that if you're that you can actually design the bedrooms and bathrooms in a bit of a different way. They do need to follow in design, of course, but in a different way. What I mean is you can add like some colors and patterns. Like, for instance, your living room is beige, white, and stuff like that, but in a bathroom, you can add like a light green or light blue tiles, and they can still match the design of the space, but they can have like a bit of a different narrative, a bit of a different touch, because it is a separate space that's not used most of the day. But of course, it's important to stay on track with design and maintain the same type and style you're doing in living room and kitchen.
Yeah, I
Uh,
ask because let's say in this particular case, let's say we have this beige vanilla interior, and then it's okay. I mean, I can imagine the same design also implemented in the kitchen, in the bathrooms. But let's say in our exercise apartment, we also have this, let's say, two kids' rooms. And for a kid's room, this is a bit too clean. Like this looks good on paper, but if you've seen actual children, they don't like this type of design. That's too clean for them. That's just too,
yeah,
I don't know, joyless.
yeah, exactly. That's why I say you can follow the design style through like design shapes, but you can change colors, for instance. Uh, and what I mean by that is if you have like what I showed with round edges,
Yeah,
yeah, you
the
can
closet.
have the same kind of a console or like a closet in a living room or a hallway, and then the same kind of closet in a kids room, but you can paint their walls in kids room like pink if it's a girl or boy, doesn't matter, or paint the walls in any color that you like. So the style can transfer and transcend through shapes and some patterns. It doesn't always have to be the colors and yeah.
So you keep the most significant design elements throughout the whole design, if I get it right. And if the host, let's say, if this happens to be color, let's say every room has its own color, then you can make the kids' room in, let's say, a different color. And this is the main design element, then it's okay. But if it's, let's say, rounded edges or simplicity, minimalism, or whatever, you implement it everywhere, but you can still give it this personalized touch, which is more appealing to the specific user.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Theo. That's exactly right. That book is gonna come really
Mm.
nicely. Well,
Thank you so much.
yeah, that's exactly right. I mean that that is easier to do if you have that custom furniture I talked about earlier. So that means that you can have like a console or a cabinet or stuff like that that have the same style in all of the rooms, but you can change colors, you can change patterns and stuff like that. So it has the same essence. Um, well, when you decide on the room that you're gonna start, you're going to have to decide what's the most important furniture that you're going to start from. Uh, so the example, of course, for the living room, you can't start with the coffee table, of course, because that's not going to be the most used furniture piece. Of course, it can be to put away like your book, your glass, or stuff like that. but you're gonna have to focus on the main things such as the TV unit, the sofa, the shelves, and so on. Uh, these, as I mentioned, these are the most used pieces of furniture in that room, and everything else revolves around it. That doesn't mean that if your client liked some coffee table that you can't put that first. But if you're designing everything from scratch on your own, I think it's the most important thing to start uh, from bigger furniture pieces. Uh, I'm mentioning this because I've seen this mistake happen a lot with 3D artists in my studio. While we are a visualization studio, we do sometimes work on interior designs if the client asks. And I see them doing this thing that's not working. Like they put on a sofa and then put on a coffee table and they start putting up the decoration on coffee table. That's not a really way to go because you don't know if that decor is going to work with the armchairs that you're gonna put up later, and if it's gonna work with the TV unit or bookshelf that you're gonna put up later. Um, so the pieces of furniture are what's the most important in design, and decor is something else. And while we're at the decor, it's time for decoration.
May I interrupt you when it comes to the previous slide? Would you say, let's go back to this age old question, does size matter? Like, is the biggest object most of the time it's a couch or sofa or something? Would you say this is the best thing to start with because it's so such a major part of the design that it maybe you should start with it and then you should go with smaller stuff because decorations, they're the smaller stuff. They're just storytelling elements. They have to, bring some mood and all of this. But the couch is the first thing you would put, or what is the first thing you put in your interiors?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was my point. Yeah, I put most of the time that's couch and like armchairs. If I do have like a need for TV unit or shelves or consoles, uh, I mostly start with them and then sofa and then armchairs. But yeah, first off, you need to do the bigger furniture pieces and then add on the smaller ones. Uh, because you're gonna sit on the sofa most of the time. If you're, in your living room, like playing video game like me, and it's gonna be important that this sofa is comfortable for you, if it's the right color for you. So, or I mean, not just for you, for your client, if you're working on a project for a client. So yeah, from that perspective, that's what's most important to start from, and then later on add on the pieces that can fit into that design style. So
And where do shape and style of the sofa, what helps define those? Like, obviously, the size of the apartment, I would say you don't put a huge sofa in a small apartment like the one we have for the exercise, I assume. But about the style, and is it an L formed, or is it, one with legs, or is it one which is on the floor? Are there any rules there?
yeah, for sure. uh well, as I mentioned on the about the on the previous slides, about the project that I did for my client, he really wanted L-shaped sofa. And the L-shaped sofa is good way to go always for the smaller apartments because it doesn't use that much of a space, but it gives enough space for more people to sit on it. And then you can add on just like one armchair or add on like a puff or something like that that can add on to that space where someone else that comes in is going to sit. While we have like regular sofas, we use them if we can put like another sofa in the space, or like another set of armchairs, or we use just one sofa if we have a really, really tight space. and the space really dictates this and really limits us to use it. And I think that if you mentioned like if we have like legs for the sofa, uh, in my opinion and in my experience, these kind of sofas are good if we have like a bigger height in ceiling, because if you put it in a smaller space that doesn't have that big of a height, it can really dominate it. So I think it's a better way to go with the lower kind of sofa for spaces that have a smaller ceiling height.
Oh,
I
this was
think,
awesome. I never thought about this in this way, I gotta admit, but now I understand it better. Thank you so much.
and it's good that you asked. I didn't. That was something that I didn't really put into the presentation, but yeah, that because yeah, that there was a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you're not meant to cover all the aspects of interior design, it's just whatever you feel like, whatever you can do, we're thankful for it, and it's lovely already. And the question, by the way, was from Amit. He asked
Oh,
about the
cool.
shape of the couch and the stuff. So just so that we are here on the fair side. And then we can continue with the decoration.
Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Amit. Um, yeah, time for decoration. When you do start your interior design, as I mentioned, you don't think about the decoration right away. Uh, you think about how are these pieces of furniture gonna be used, of course, but the decoration comes, of course, second. Like I mentioned, carpets, curtains, and lamps are gonna be added in the end. It's important to think about it, but you don't have to focus around them. And as we mentioned before, decoration ties the space together, but it does not define it. And I think this is important. It's not a rule, but it's important to think about when you're working on your visuals or your interior design. Um, so moving on is the client's priority. Uh, if you're working for a client, you have to ask them if they have any hobbies or they have some interest or something important that they want to see in their home, like a gaming room, office space, like something in their kitchen, something in their dining room, just anything that's going to resonate with them and that they're going to need in their space. And this is going to help you start your project, and this is going to help you focus first on that thing that they like and then do everything else. Uh, this is again the project that that I showed you earlier. This is just a different visual for it. For instance, the guy that I worked that I did this interior for, he is kind of like me. He likes video games and he likes listening to records. Um, so it was important for him to see these two things implemented in his living room. Uh, so of course, you're not going to add like a poker game table in a living room or anywhere else if that person doesn't like it. I mean, it's maybe a stupid example, but uh, I think that anyone can get that point. Uh, it's not when you're working for clients, you have to set aside your interests in the things you love. You're gonna have to work on the things that clients really want to see. I had that uh, luck here for this particular project that the client liked the same stuff as I did, so it was pretty easy to do this and pretty cool to work on this from that side, of course. But if we talk about personal priority, And if you're working on your interior design for your personal project, whether it's for like CG Connect thing or whatever, or like your Chaos Campus project, you need to think about what's the most important thing that you want to showcase to the people. If it's the mood, the lighting, or the functionality of the space, is it like the mixture of designs and that someone can see that you can manipulate those designs really good? Or is it something like the view? I don't know. So personal projects are there to basically uh, tell your story, and it's your way to manipulate that basically, and it's your time to shine basically, and to see how you're gonna do this, how you're gonna present this, and think about it, and you can really play around. This is not just for interior design. This is also for for externals and anything else you want to visualize basically. But yeah, um this
Personal projects show who you are, what you stand for, what you like.
exactly. This is the render that I did for that I actually got the award for. um Part of it I cropped it out. And while I did want to showcase the interior design itself, I first and foremost wanted to showcase the mood and how this room looks like at a certain day, at a certain time of day. So that's something that you can go for and think about uh, when you're starting on your personal project. It can be like various themes, your hobbies, your interests, your colors that you like. I don't know. It's your story, so you can really play around. You can do whatever you like. Of course, be mindful of the things that limit the interior design, uh, uh, things that challenge you, and like all the challenges we have about the smaller spaces. But yeah, it's really encouraged to play around and to showcase your best, so to say. Um, with that, moving on, this is all really connected to, of course, visualizing the small spaces, and this is equally tricky as designing them. And I'm gonna talk about here about, of course, the big three that are important in any kind of visualization. But yeah, those are camera composition, lighting, color theory. And I'm gonna give you some couple of technical tips and tricks at the end, so you can get a better sense of what's right and what's wrong, and what to look for when you're working on your visuals. Uh, as I said before, visualization has become like one of the most important tools in interior design, just because it gives you that quick access to your design ideas. It helps you see how everything is going to come together, and it helps you to quickly avoid and eliminate ideas that don't really work. Uh, while it's mostly used for marketing purposes, it can be really more than that. It's the clients we are working for, whether privately or in the companies we're working it's mostly for marketing purposes. But if you're doing it on your own, it's for something even better, bigger, and more beautiful, like I mentioned before, because you can showcase the mood, you can showcase something else rather than just the space and how it's going to look like when it's finished. Um, but the camera composition is something that's most tricky in visualizing the small spaces. And I'm gonna talk about now that topic about camera composition and how the image aspect, how the camera angle and camera lens uh, affect the camera composition in general when visualizing small spaces. So image aspect can largely largely influence your visual. It can make it look, it can give it too much or too little. So you need to uh, really think about what you're going to focus on. Uh, you need to understand the space and what's important to show in it. So I gave here two examples of the renders. I already put them up, but I thought that they're, again, good examples for the image aspect. The first one is a living room, and as I mentioned here, the horizontal 16:9 is really good for living rooms or kitchens, and vertical one is good for dining room or bath. But this doesn't always have to be the case. In most cases of smaller interiors, it is. But for example, if you look at the living room here, if we used the vertical aspect, we would have too much of the ceiling, too much of the floor, and we really don't want that. We really want to focus on the room, on the TV unit we have here, the shelving, the sofa, and so on. And if you look at the here at the bathroom, if we used a horizontal aspect, we would have too much of the tiles on the left or too much of the hallway on the right. So nobody wants to see that. That's not what's important in this room and in this visual. You really need to focus on vanity and the stuff that people are going to use. Um, so really think about aspect when you start working, or you can always test it out. I mean, this is kind of the obvious thing if you're already into visualization, but I think it's important to mention, of course. You don't always have to use like these aspects that I mentioned here. You can like play around, uh, just like with anything else. Really try out and see what's gonna work best for your visuals. Sometimes it's gonna be even larger aspect, like horizontally wise or something else. So basically, you need to know what to focus on, and the aspect is going to frame that perfectly.
And generally speaking, I think it's like if you have a wide space, like a larger space, then the landscape aspect ratio is better. And of course, if you have a more confined space, like the bathroom we see to the side, then it's better to go with a vertical aspect ratio. And I have a very interesting question by Romain, who wants to know what's the ideal height for the camera that you use on interiors. If it's coming, I don't know if it's coming, but um,
Yes, it
oh,
is.
that's fantastic. So the question will be answered.
Yeah, cool. Thanks. That's actually on the next slide.
Fantastic.
Camera angle, camera height.
As
Yeah,
if we knew it.
yeah, as if you knew it. So the camera angle can also enhance your visuals or maybe mislead the person viewing it. You need to focus on the most important thing that in the room that you're showing. This is the same room, but it's showed from two different perspectives. Um, and again, try to play around and see what works better. But if we look at the first image, we're focusing on the whole room here, on the bed, on the closet. We have like a little bit on the right side. This path, we have like a little bit of the view, and this image tells you everything you need to know about this room. But if we go to the second image, uh, we only focus on the bed and the view. So maybe for the client, it's more important to know what he's going to see through his window more than he's going to know. I mean, they're always going to want to know how the whole room is going to look like. But some clients uh, actually prefer the view throughout the window, especially if that's some like beautiful view at the forest ocean or something like that.
Not
Uh,
necessarily the case with this image, even though the shots themselves look fantastic, but the view is more or less a necessity here.
the view is unfortunate. Sometimes it's also important to showcase it, because I don't know, someone wants to see how close the building next to theirs is going to be. So you never know. But that's the importance of camera angle. If you don't want the person you're doing the visuals for, though you don't want them to see that, you go with the first image, with the first option. um, so yeah, that's basically it. And to answer the question, the camera height we use for most interiors, not just the small ones, is 100 to 120 centimeters. I didn't translate this to inches. I'm sorry. Um, but it's something photographers use most of the time because it gives that natural look to the visuals, like we have in the photos. Of course, again, you can play around. If you need to show something that's like, if this image of the bed was too low, we wouldn't be able to see like how this throw on the bed looks like, for instance, or something like that. So you can make a height a bit bigger or a bit smaller, but those are kind of the optimal numbers that you want to go when you're placing your camera height.
When it
Um,
works, in some cases you gotta go higher, but so don't stick to them religiously, because
exact,
sometimes it doesn't work. But this is like, say, the photographer's default when it comes to interiors.
exactly, Theo. Yeah, exactly that.
I'm a good student, you see? You hear this?
Yeah, learning fast, and I hope that everything is everyone is. So the next one is camera lens. Most common camera lens for interiors, any interiors, are 33 to 35 millimeters. But for smaller spaces, because they're challenging, of course, we can use 24 to 28 millimeters. This can also be a problem because the lesser the number, the more it is likely for your visual to be distorted and your items, your furniture, individuals can look stretched. So you need to really be careful when you're working on that and see what it looks natural. So that's why I recommend for smaller visuals, for visuals of the smaller apartments, 24 to 28. But most natural ones are 33 to 35. Also photographers use this. And I added here the example. The first image is 33 millimeters and the second one is 24. So you can see it's not that big of a difference, but it does give, the 24 does give more space to the visual. You can see more of the stuff happening, basically.
But also more distortion.
Sorry?
It's also more distortion. So it's
Yeah, it's also more distortion. You have to pick your battles, I guess, and compromise. But yeah, you can even go with 28, 30. It's not set in stone, of course. That's something also that you need to play around. But I think it's important to know that going below 24, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna look great. It can work in some extreme, very, very extreme cases. Um, And for, of course, if you want to have the close-up shots like this ones, you can go. from 50 to 100 millimeters. And I think that's actually the way to go for these kind of visuals, because those camera lenses show more of the intimacy, because you are focusing on a certain thing. You want to showcase a certain thing, not the whole space, just a part of it. And these numbers, 50 to 100 millimeters camera lens, give you that feeling. Um, this is also something that photographers use and do in their work.
Beautiful
Mm,
shots, by the way. No wonder
thank
they
you.
won you that award. I have a very interesting question regarding the camera. I don't know if you'll be speaking about it, but um, the values that you said about interiors, they were more, let's say, about residential, or would you say they also go for commercial spaces, offices, and whatever? Also do them in 100 to 120 centimeters
Uh,
height from the floor?
yeah, they can go also for commercial spaces. I mean, commercial spaces can be a bit different and difficult. Commercial spaces do have like a bigger ceiling height in some cases. So it's important to test that. But yeah, when you start off with 120 centimeters height, and then if you see that something doesn't work, raise the camera up a bit, but always make sure that it doesn't look like a bird's eye perspective, because that's not looking natural in your visuals. Of course, sometimes clients require this. I had this happen to me at work, that the clients really want to see like the space from up above, and it's not looking great, but it's something they want to see. So you just have to sit and do it. There's no other way around it. But if you have full control of placing the camera, this is the way to go. And I think that there's not a big difference between commercial and apartment spaces. And yeah, to answer your question.
And I have a second one while we're talking about cameras. Are you going to talk about camera clipping, or can I put my question out there?
Sure, you can put your question out there.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Because yeah, this is a topic where since I started the show, I'm not a big fan of camera clipping. Let's put it like this. What I try to do with my interiors, well, like I act here as if I know nothing about them, but obviously I've also done my fair share of interiors. But it's just such a pleasure to learn from you. Anyway, when it comes to camera clipping, I try to always avoid it, because what I try to do is replicate what a photographer would do. And a photographer cannot take photos through a wall. So I try also not to do it. This is just my point of view. This is how I feel regarding camera clipping. However, I also see that sometimes it's with, let's say, small confined bathrooms and stuff, it could be quite useful. So what's your stance when it comes to camera clipping? Do you use it? And do you use it in certain situations only, or how is it?
Well, I do use it. I agree with you. I don't really like it because it can be tricky. It can cut through some things that you don't want to cut through. But I do use it in some extreme cases, where it's really needed, and when your back is against the wall, quite literally. Uh, Sometimes I do use it, but what I also do, and I think a lot of people do in their commercial work, is what's called faking. We all heard of it. And sometimes I move walls around. This is, of course, not ideal, but it's sometimes the only way to showcase the certain space in the way the clients want to see it. So yeah, that's how I solved it. But these are really uh, the cases that you're that you have to use these things for. When I do it by myself, I don't work like this. For these visuals that you see here now, and for my personal projects, I never do this because I know what I want to see. I know what's natural. Uh, I try to go about the most natural way that I can. That's also the thing. A lot of clients don't know what natural looks like and natural feels like. Not just about the camera, about a lot of things, the lighting, the reflections, the colors. And I think that most of the people listening to this, and of course you, Theo, are going to agree with me on this. The clients are really tricky, so to say.
Very
So
politically correct way to put it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we don't want to open another Pandora box here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's difficult. Yeah. Sometimes we just gotta be people of service and do what clients want if we cannot convince them otherwise. But maybe a general piece of advice here to summarize this. If you can, as much as you can, try to act like a virtual photographer. Don't go through walls, don't remove them, don't do stuff like this. At the same time, we have those means. Photographers don't have them. Maybe they will also use them if they were able to, but they're not. So they have those restraints that we do not have. So in certain situations, it makes sense that we make use of camera clipping or moving walls or faking stuff, but don't rely too much on it because at some point it shows. And I've had situations and presentations where clients will say, okay, how come I can see this here, but at the same time there is a wall? Where did the wall go for this first shot? And then you got to explain, yeah, we removed it in order to see more, which is kind of not so great. So in extreme cases, use it, but if possible, try to avoid it.
exactly. That's right. You summarized it well, Theo. Thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you. Um, and the next thing, uh, we're switching to lighting. So if you have any comments about questions and comments about the cameras, we can talk about it now, or we can use that for the Q&A part. Um, but if we don't have, we can talk about lighting a bit. I'm gonna talk about here about the light and camera, how they work together. What's the best lighting scenario for smaller spaces and generally for interiors, and deciding on lighting for personal projects. Uh, so light and camera, how positioning the camera affects your lighting. Uh, my most important advice, so to say, is never to place camera in front of the window or door or any kind of portal that's going to directly uh, give you a light on your visual. You can, of course, do it. You can find a way around it. It's not wrong, but there are, I think that you can find ways to avoid this. Why? It's because the visual can lose the sense of depth and detail. It makes the visual feel too bright and overpowered with the sunlight.
And flat.
Of course, yeah, of course, the you can mm, control this in post production in Photoshop or whenever. Uh, but I think that most of the time you're going to have problems like this while you're in 3ds Max. Uh, and just avoiding this problem straight on at the start can help you. Later on, when you become a bit more experienced artist, you can learn how to manipulate this kind of camera and lighting in a better way. Um, so, what's the best lighting scenario then? If we want to avoid any confusion, uh, overcast lighting is something that's praised actually by the photographers, um, and a lot of them you can if you want to like listen to them talk about like a seminar, you can hear that they talk about overcast lighting or any kind of lighting, maybe it's artificial, that evenly lights the space out. Why is this good? it helps the visual, or like the space, bring out the most important parts of the interior, their colors, their patterns, the textures, and it makes you avoid unnecessary distractions. Uh, Using other types of lighting is not really wrong, but for commercial projects, I think the best way to go is with overcast or sunlight. For instance, I put up here these two images. These are photos um, that I got from the websites. I'm going to share them with you later. Uh, if we had like a really direct sunlight over this, it could have like made a distraction. Uh, and if we really look at the bottom picture of the kitchen, we have like a lot of elements here. We see the hallway, we see the kitchen, we see this cabinet, we see the dining table, and if we have like the ray of sunlight over it, it would overpower the image. Instead, if here is everything is evenly lit up, uh, you really can see the textures and the colors of the elements and of the furniture that we have here. Of course, uh, this is lit up from the side. So it's not lit up from the front, like where your camera is standing. So that's something that also we need to think about. Because if you're lighting up your image, your visual from the side, it can give you that sense of depth. It can give you that light and shadow moment that brings up your visual and makes it more realistic, actually. Um, so a little tip, if you choose to go with a daylight shot, whether it's overcast or sunlit, uh, avoid adding unnecessary artificial lights. And I'm not talking here about like adding a lamp here and turning it on. I'm talking about these kind of spotlights that we have here. Uh, these don't really help in these situations and can really instead ruin your visual and make it too bright or too artificial. Uh, Instead, if you don't really have that much light coming in, you can use some hidden planes, light planes in your scenes uh, to just really add up that amount of light that you miss in your visual. Of course, if you're using Corona, for instance, like I do, light mix is something that really helps here and that can really help you manipulate the light sources and the way you light up your scene. Um, that's maybe a great topic to talk about, Corona light mix. If we didn't have it already, I mean, if you didn't have it already, Theo.
No, light mix is fantastic. I think this was one of the main features that gave the Corona its very deserved popularity, and of course that it's so focused on architectural visualization in general. But light mix was such a, I don't know, genius feature that definitely use it. Always make sure to use it. Add your lights in basic white color inside so that you can control them afterwards. And yeah, totally agree. This was a lovely point.
Thanks. Um, and deciding on now on lighting for personal projects. Again, I'm talking about lighting here and going back to this because this is important. Um, Lighting shows the mood in any type of visual. So when you're starting your project, you want to think about what kind of story you want to tell through your project. Sunset or blue hour or night shots are used to show the mood of the interior, while the overcast and daylight are used to showcase the design. And that's why we use overcast and daylight for commercial projects. But when you start your visual of your project, you can always try out different options and see what's the best lighting for the story you want to tell. For instance, I could have this is also these are also the visuals of my personal project. Um, I could have used sunlight here, like basic daylight. It's 12 in the afternoon or 1 p.m. or whatever, and we have like this kind of gaming living room situation, and you can see all the furniture, and that's all nice. But that was not my goal here, not my point. My goal here was to showcase this at a certain time of day, because I wanted that uh, settling of the day mood to emphasize my visuals. Yes, it's interior, and yes, we have some furniture, but uh, the lighting is correlating with the theme of the interior. So at the end of the day, like when you come home from work, you're gonna go and relax a bit. You're gonna, read some books, play some games, maybe put on a record like I do. And this space was the idea of this space and of these visuals was like that. I'm coming home from work. I'm gonna chill a bit. I'm gonna listen to a record, and I'm gonna, design the space that's gonna resonate how I feel and how I would like this to look. So that's my advice on thinking about when you visualize uh, your interiors for your personal projects. Just really think about what's the story there. Uh, if your story is showcasing the furniture, go for the overcast or daylight. And if it's just something else, use sunset, use night shots, and whatever. And I think I added on this slide, I'm going back to my uh, previous project. Uh, I was really actually nervous to use this one over and over, but I have like NDA on a bunch of them, so I was limited. So I'm sorry, guys. But I think that uh, anyhow, these work. These have their good purpose. So again, this is that client that wanted to see certain things in his living room, like the Sony PlayStation space and record space. So the first two visuals I did are for the sole purpose of showcasing how the materials and the colors are going to look like in his space. The true tones and the true uh, version of colors and everything, how it's going to look like at the daylight. And the second set is actually a moody one to showcase how is he going to feel when he's in his living room playing the games, listening to a record. So here's where you can see how the power of lighting can change the narrative of your visuals. Um,
It's by the way, because you just excuse yourself about this, but looking at this, honestly, I almost feel like going back to one and the same image over and over again and seeing it in different scenarios, or let's say talking about different aspects of it, is actually quite a good idea. Because if you are given a new image for every new topic, and at some point you've seen like 100 images, it can be quite overwhelming and confusing. But right now we know this image, and we've already seen it. We talked about parts of it. Now we can focus on a different aspect of it, which I think is good. But would you say that, let's say, a good interior design looks great with every lighting scenario? Or would you say, let's say it's a personal project, when you start designing, decide first if you want to go for, let's say, a portfolio project for potential clients, or a moody project, which is for the show, and then make the interior design around it, like come up with the lighting first and then make something which suits this type of lighting. Let's say you have, talking about the project of yours that won you the VizPro of the Year for 2025. The design itself has a bit of a retro vibe. to it, which I think together with, let's say, a sunset mood makes it even stronger. If it was, let's say, something very modernistic with a lot of metal, with a lot of cold surfaces, I don't think it would have the same impact. What do you think? It's confusing.
Good question, Theo. Thank you. Thank you for asking that. I think that good interior design works in every lighting scenario. And I think that it's the thing of showcasing it. I could have easily won with the daylight shots, but I would maybe find different camera angles to show it, or maybe just move some pieces of furniture around to make it more uh looking better in that lighting case scenario. But I think that if you're working like for the visuals only, you can start with the lighting. But if you're working first on interior design, you have to think about the interior design. The lighting comes at the end. It can change the narrative, of course, but I strongly think that good interior design is going to be good where it's overcast or blue hour or whatever. Because like if we look at these visuals now, when you look at the TV, for instance, you don't know that it's going to be lit up and that it's going to look different, and that is going to make you focus on that area when it's a night shot. Like this, if you're looking at the daylight version, you're focusing more on the sofa maybe, or that armchair because it's orange. Uh, so yeah, I think it's just about the narrative and what you want to showcase. I hope that answers your
Yeah, it
question.
does. It absolutely does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And while I'm at this project, I just want to mention, even though it's not like this ideal, like out of this world interior, it's something that people are going to face in their everyday working with the clients. It's something that I mentioned at the beginning, actually. You're not always going to like 100% the design you did at the end, because you do have to listen to your client. If it was me, I would like do all of this things a bit more in a bit different way, but you have to compromise. So that's also important thing to mention.
Yeah. Set aside your interest, you said. I wrote this quote down.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad you did.
And one more thing I see here, for the second angle, you swapped the chair, the armchair in the corner for a puff so that the armchair doesn't cover too much. This is important. Have some flexibility. Contrary to removing walls or using camera clipping once again, which is not really realistic in terms of our reality and what a photographer would do. Removing furniture or moving it around is totally legit, and this is something photographers do all the time. So if you need to do it. No problem with that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I did it, because the armchair would cover like the half of the shelf and TV unit. And it's also a thing that the client wanted to try out. He wanted to try both the armchair or the puff. And because I couldn't do like a bunch of visuals, I gave him the options in these two. So yeah, totally cool to do it. Of course. Um, the last thing about visualizing is color theory, uh, or color grading. But color theory, yeah, it's really a study of its own, and really defines your visual, whether it's interior design or external visuals. uh, it's a really huge topic, and it's also something that you can think about. Maybe you can bring someone who can talk about this in more depth.
Working on it.
Uh, but since we don't have time, I'm going to just like pick out some points that can be important for the small interiors. Um, but important things to know about color theory. is what are complementary colors and how to color grade your visuals. I'm going to show you on the next slide a fun way to learn about complementary colors. And the color grading, what that means, is learning to make the tones of your visuals complementary. So these two go hand in hand. If you want your visual to be warm, even the cool tones and the cool colors of it have to have that warmer undertone, and vice versa, of course. Best way to learn about color grading is through photography and books and courses about it on the internet. We have like vast library of information here. But the fun fact to know about the color theory is that the Renaissance painters, such as Caravaggio here that I put up, are considered the masters of color and light. So if you really want to go in depth about this, you can study their work. Uh, One of my recent projects that I worked on, and I'm going to show you later, like soon, not later, because I'm finishing, was inspired by Caravaggio. Um, so you're gonna see how I tried to replicate what he does, what he did in his paintings. Um, and to go to that color theory exercise, I put up here a link. I can share it again after the presentation so you have access of it. And I also put up here this chart of the color theory. It's a lot to take in, of course, when you look at it, but it's good to know for your visuals. The most important thing is good to know what are the cool tones and what are the warm tones. And this part, what are the color properties? What are the cool tones, warm tones, as I mentioned? What are the brights, the darks, and saturated and desaturated, and how they work and how they complement each other? So if I go to this link real quick, let me just, okay, let me know if you're seeing my uh, screen. Yeah, you're seeing it.
We
Okay.
do, and the link is already shared in the comments.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Tia. So it's just one of many websites. I think you can find like a couple more, but it's a cool and fun way to learn about complementary colors. So if I scroll down here and click complementary, I can move around here and see which two colors complement each other. And you can actually see how they work together. And you're asking yourself, but yeah, they do work, but why is that? The theory says that complementary colors are on the two opposite sides of the color wheel. So the warm and the cool side of the color wheel. And you can move around, play around on this website, and you can play with saturation uh, and the lightness and the darkness of the colors. You can go down here and see all the other color harmonies and stuff that can really help you understand how the colors work. And this is good to know because if you want to put color in your spaces, it's good to know which colors go together. I don't think it's a good idea to like put, I don't know, a really bright orange and a really bright purple interior, especially a small one. So it's a fun exercise. It's nothing big, but it can be cool to play around. And I think that I hope that you're going to like it. um, Let me get back to my presentation. So one another fun thing about color theory and how you can practice it in your visuals is just by playing around in in Corona, in your interactive render, you can try out different versions and different colors of your walls, for instance, like I did here, and see how is that going to affect your visual and what story is going to tell. Again, storytelling, you can do it through colors. Like the first one is that with the white walls, it's that really clean look, open space, and it's just a safe thing to go with. Um, the other one, it's a bit darker, but still not natural color and makes like the bedroom, the bed, uh, really stand out. Uh, so if you want to go for that effect of standing out, you can use something like this, but always go for a natural tone. Whether it's green or kind of bluish, or maybe like the brown one on the third image. The brown one can maybe be closed down because it is still a smaller space. And just really go cautiously about this. Um, it's if you want to be safe, go with first or second version, but yeah, you can play around with darker tone. And of course, the last one is something between like purple and maroon. Um, you can just really see that it's it's not working. I put it up as kind of a bad example. Sometimes people do like this, but it's a color then that is maybe used for uh, bigger spaces.
Yeah. A
Uh,
bit too bold, a bit too dominant.
a bit too bold, yeah, a bit too dominant, and it's not for a bedroom. Uh, a bedroom is a space where you sleep, and you want the tones to be natural, because it's not good for your psyche. That's something that we also learned in the architecture in college, how colors can affect your moods in the interiors, and how some colors are considered wrong, basically, for walls, like too bright or too in your face, like reds and stuff like that. Of course, it's not wrong, but you have to go cautiously into choosing those colors.
Please tell me that
Um,
green is one of the colors that they said is good for a bedroom because we're painting ours next weekend. So
yes, it is. As I said, the naturals are really really good way to go. The green is really a good way to go if you want natural color, but also a color that it's not too beige looking, too safe looking.
yeah, that's the thing. I'm tired of beige, honestly, even though this is one of my favorite colors. But in the last years, design kind of overdid it for me, at least interior design. So I want a
Yeah,
bit more color now.
yeah, exactly. And I'm almost at the finish line, so
Caravaggio.
yeah. But yeah, this is my personal project, the last personal project that I did, and I'm going to give you just a short breakdown. Yeah, Caravaggio, as you mentioned, this is the project that I was inspired, that Caravaggio inspired me by, and you can uh, you can see maybe from the start what was the purpose, but if you can't, I'm here to explain. I really wanted this project to feel warm and traditional and almost like something that you can see and feel, uh, that is right there with you. Um, so when you think of tradition, you think of something warm, of course, and that's how you can go about any visual for your personal project. It's about the feeling. So the feeling of traditionals in is a warm palette, and I really loved the way that Caravaggio uses his light, uh, and I tried to translate that to my visuals. That you can see that the the contrast, it's really there. And I didn't put it up in Photoshop. This is actually no Photoshop. These visuals are came out like this from 3ds Max. It's not I don't want to brag, of course, with this, but I want to make a point. You can see that even I don't know how your monitors look like, but on my monitor, you can see that even darker spaces have tones and are there, uh, and do tell a story and do and are important to the story I wanted to tell. Uh, and they just give this kind of lighting just gives a natural contrast and feeling to the whole image. Um, so yeah, that's something that I use. And important thing is I did put up my color palette here, and you can see that the darkest parts are not totally black. um, I pinpoint the black colors, and the whites are not the totally white. That is something that also photographers talk about. I always go back to photographers. That's important, and I'm gonna tell why in a minute. If you do use too dark or too brights, that's not gonna be realistic. We all know that too white makes the visual too bright and doesn't feel good. It feels off. Too dark also does that. Uh, you won't find in nature anything that's totally white or totally black. There is that color Vanta black.
Kind of black is cool, right?
Yeah, but if you do really pay close to attention, like when you do photography, like I do, you're gonna see that there's no such thing as pure black, pure white. Try to implement that on your visuals, and you can see that they're gonna look better. So that's a quick, short breakdown. I didn't want to go like too much in it. I just wanted to show you uh what's my inspiration. You saw that image, that painting that Caravaggio did, and this visual that I did. So yeah, basically I wanted to tie those two together, and yeah. um so after that, the last thing for this for visualization part are technical tips and tricks that I want to talk about real quick, um, and what to avoid, on what's going to make your visuals look bad. It's almost always the texture scale mistakes, like overscaled wood grain, huge marble wings, tile sizes, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Uh, and I put up these two images. These are photos I downloaded, and you can see, always look at the photos when you're doing your visuals. You can look at others people renders, but I think it's most important to look at the photos, because you can really see how this grout looks. People tend to over exaggerate the grouts when they're starting off as visual artists. But you can see this floorboards have really small grout. These floor tiles also have small grout, and don't try to emphasize them. It's going to make your visuals look unrealistic. Just really look at the reference images before you start doing something like that. And also, of course, the scale of the textures. The marble wings, they shouldn't be too big or too small. Also looks fake. Or like any texture, any linen that you're doing. And not just the textures, you can also see how these curtains are treated if they're like unfolded and used, how they look like in the space when they're wide open, and stuff like that. So photography is important part of understanding how your visual should look like. Um, Another thing is like micro details. Uh, Beveled edges, roughness, and imperfections. Of course, using too much imperfections can also make your visual look off. So tread lightly with that. Um, the overstaging problem. You can have like too many plants in your space, too many accessories and decoration. Also, while this may be the case in our home, like I have too many books or records or stuff like that, when you're showcasing the space, you don't want to do that because you're gonna over clutter it, like we talked about before. We don't want to see that when we see in the visual. It's gonna make the small space look cramped. Um, I mentioned the grout, of course, and the backgrounds. The backgrounds, matching the background to your visual is really important. If your render has a background visible through some portal, it's important to match the color and light of the image you're adding in Photoshop. Uh, because if it's too bright or too dark, it doesn't really look natural. That's why I put up this reference as well, because you can really see how the greenery looks like from this space. Um, but yeah, always look at the photos. In many cases, if you're having like a image like this where you're looking front on at the window or door, you're gonna have really bright outdoors. But in this case, we have like a lot of bushes, so they cover that treatment of light, the sunburns that can happen. Um, so yeah, that are my technical tips and tricks. I have them like a lot more, but of course, I already talked really long, so I'm not gonna go through that much more. I'm sure that like a lot of other people can give you these tips. Theo himself, of course. Um, but yeah, um, and I want to end the topic with the references. Uh, as I mentioned now, the references, the photos are the best references for your visuals because you can see how the real stuff works. You can use other people's renders as inspiration, and it's not wrong, of course, but if you're learning and if you're starting to do visuals, I think the photos are the way to go. And I put up here a couple of websites that I use on daily basis while I'm working on my visuals. Theo can also share this or whatever. And I think that most of you probably already know about these references. Yeah. Uh, and at the end of my presentation here, and I just wanted to show you this image. And you're asking yourself, why is she showing us this? What is this? This is my first render of interior space. I did this like 8 years ago. Uh, and this is something that I put up in my portfolio when I applied for Darkroom. Um, And of course, I showed this image already, but I'm showing it now in full scale. This is the image that got me an award. And why did I want to show you this and share this with you is because I want to say that I've come a long way in this industry and on this path. I started really small. I started learning. I was really eager to learn. And as I'm sure all of you are, since you're here. And I just wanted to put this here as a reminder for you that learning and becoming good and great at something takes time. And not to give yourself pressure uh, of when it's going to happen. I know that this isn't related to the topic, but I think it's important if you're going to do your job or any kind of visuals in your life. So that is just a quick reminder. And Thank you. That's it for me. Keep creating, I
Thank you
guess.
so much. Here we see your hobbies:
Yeah.
vinyls, the PS5 with this pink
Yeah.
controller, never seen it before, and your dog.
Yeah. It's actually my sister's dog, but yeah. I imagine this mine.
That was Stefana. That was absolutely amazing. This was actually a whole masterclass again. Every time when I invite people here over here to talk about this, I imagine that they'll talk for about 20 minutes and they'll go because, yeah, I cannot expect more, even though I hope for what just happened, because this was really deep. This was very interesting to listen to. Um, Many new things, many confirmations of things we already thought or eventually kind of assume that they are, but hearing them from a professional, somebody who has studied this, who has a lot of experience in it, is of course something different. So thank you very much. Now it's been a long session so far. I
Yeah.
don't do a lot of it. I just sit here and listen and learn. It's great for me. I know the maniacs in the comments. There's people who stay here for 5, 6 hours if we give them a show of 5, 6 hours. And I mean it in a most lovable way because you guys are fantastic. And I know that when it comes to the recording, people will go through it even if it's 4 hours. But I want to be like, you're my guest. I want to respect that. So it's up to you. If you say, I'm tired, let's finish with this. It's one thing. If you say we can do a couple of questions, we can do it as well. Both is okay. Up to you to decide.
Yeah, sure. I have like a half an hour more on me, so we can go with questions. I know this presentation lasted a bit longer than I wanted, but that's the thing. You can summarize everything up. But I wanted to really share with the people what I learned. So I hope that I didn't really bore you guys.
Absolutely not. Looking at the comments, people were totally into it, asking questions. Some had to leave because, once again, a lengthy session, but they left some questions. I would gladly or kindly ask you if you have time after the session, the recording stays in the group, that you can go through the comments, see what people were saying the whole time, and maybe answer some of the questions there. It doesn't have to be immediately, like the next days when you have time. It would be awesome. Yeah, I had prepared many questions. We won't go through all of them. Just a few quick ones. You don't have to answer, or you don't have to give us like a very lengthy answers. It's just first thing I wanted to ask you is how, like you suggested the topic of the small apartments, obviously also to cater to our exercise. But do you also happen to have such in your day-to-day work?
You mean these kind of
Yeah, small
projects?
small interiors. Do you work on those often, or are they, let's say you're too big of a studio, you work on the big classy luxury villas?
The studio has like the bigger projects, of course. We work on luxury villas, but I do work outside of the studio. I have some of the clients when they're in need of interior design, and it's mostly the smaller stuff, the smaller apartments.
So you're talking out of experience, not something you just try to, put together just to cater to our exercise, which is of
Yeah.
course great because honestly, this is why I picked this exercise. I wanted people to have a challenge and to do something which, happens. And as you said, cities get overfilled, apartments tend to be small, and but they still need to be visualized. So I think everyone can deal with a 500 square meter living, dining, kitchen, right? Because there's enough space for you to place the camera, to place large sofa settings and all of this. But when the room is confined, the space is confined, then it's difficult to deal with that. And this is why we're doing this exercise. Um, it's good to know that you're speaking out of experience here. And when it comes to clients, you said that you try to navigate them to what makes sense. How do you do that? Because sometimes it's just really difficult. People just want to give up at some point. How do you navigate them to what makes sense?
Yeah, I agree. It's really difficult at work when you're working with foreign clients, it's almost impossible. But when I'm working here with my private clients, I show them how the thing is going to look like and what's the bad side of the thing they want to see and what's the good side of what I have in mind. So yeah, I think you have to be open to give people the example and to have time for it. If you don't want to do that, you can kiss that idea goodbye of changing the mind. So it's whether you're prepared or not to do something like that. So that's the way I do it.
And how do you figure out what they actually want? I think many of them don't really know. They maybe have seen something on Home and Garden TV and think, "Oh, that would be nice," but I think it's up to you maybe to crystallize their idea and to make sure that they actually understand what they want. So do you also use 3D for that?
Yeah, I do use 3D for that. For instance, like yeah, like you mentioned, they want this big TV, and then you put that big TV in the visual, and you show that, and you tell them, yeah, but if you have that big TV, you won't have space for a bookshelf or for any kind of added space that you want to have in your room. So tell them you have to choose. It's of course, if you want to go with the bigger TV, it's your apartment, it's your living room, you can go with it, but just so you know, you won't have the space for your bookshelf that you wanted.
Who
Or
reads
we're gonna
anyways nowadays, right? Um,
yeah, or whatever,
no,
whichever
of course. I
space.
mean, bookshelf should be actually more important, but reality is unfortunately a bit different.
Yeah.
And you just spoke about compromises. Is there something when it comes to interior design where you make no compromises? Like something where you say, no, I can color, everything is okay, but let's say functionality, but this needs to work. I can agree with all the stupid stuff that the client wants, but not that.
Yeah. I don't like marble. Not in any larger forms. So that's something that's a no-go. Um I mean, that's the most obvious one that I can think about now at the top of my head. But I don't like that obvious design, and that's the obvious design, the design that you can see in every day. I mean, some of these renders that I did and that I showed now, you can't really see that that's something that's used. But I avoid those things such as usage of that marble, of the beige, of the stuff like that. And if it's really needed and if the client requires it, I try to like add some of the color into a visual, into interior design. For instance, like I did for that living room, the everything is like in that wood tone, and I just added that orange chair. Uh, the client didn't even know he liked it until I put it there, and I changed his mind, and I was like, "We have to go with this chair." Trust me, you're gonna love it. It's part of your personality as well. It's not just like the space of its own. So yeah,
When you contact a
but
professional, you actually have to trust them. Otherwise, do it yourself, honestly, because if you know everything about design, why do you need interior designers? Just do it. Um,
exactly. So yeah, I mean, if you already know what furniture you're going to use, then you don't need an interior designer.
and uh, at which point do you pick the style you want to go with? Like, there are so many styles, so many options, so many variables. How do you know I'll go with this style for this particular interior?
I think it's based on the person you're working for. For instance, if someone is really playful and is fun and lively, you can use colors in design and really have fun. And if they're open to it, of course. If someone's more calm, you're gonna use more simpler design. Uh, Going back to the project that I showcased many times here, the client required like to have that minimal Japanese look to his living room and parts of his apartment. So Sometimes the clients define that for you, and they make your job easier for it, of course. But your job can be um, telling them if that works or not, or if it stands. I go for a design that's going to be timeless, not just there for a decade or two, but that's going to stand still in like 50 years or so. Um, using that means using like some of the furniture that is made like 15 years ago or more. So like the Eames chair, for instance, that's first popped into my head, and stuff like that, or the furniture that mimics that kind of design. So yeah,
So no
that's
IKEA
what I
furniture. I see. Uh,
yeah.
okay, and what if there is no client? For example, like for a personal project, what do you do then? Do you have an avatar family, like Max suggested, like somebody who you imagine is like, as if there is a client, and you still try to cater to them?
Well, for the personal projects, I'm the client. That's why they're personal. So I try to envision stuff how I would like to see it and use it. Um, the visuals that got me in the award, that was the room that I would like to see and I would like to have in future. So it's kind of easier to manipulate that. Don't try to limit myself with what would someone else like when I'm working on personal projects, because I do limit myself daily on my job. And I think that we all kind of want to avoid that when we go into something that's going to be creative for us and inspiring.
So you do personal projects to experience some creative freedom and enjoy it. So this is what why they're important for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's for the form of expression.
Okay. And to
Like,
recharge the
yeah,
creative batteries, right? Not to do.
yeah.
And what would you advise people to do? Should people focus on one area, let's say interiors, or should they try different automotive project exteriors, whatever? What would you recommend?
I think that they can try out many different things. They don't have to limit themselves, because you never know where you're gonna find your true passion. I see that like a lot of people who did ArcViz turned to motorsports or motor visuals. I don't know is how it's called, because they find their peak interest there. So it's not wrong to research and really focus on something that you like. Um, so yeah, explore. You never know.
Any advice for increasing the chances of winning the CG Architects VizPro of the year 2026?
Oh my God. I don't know really what to say. For me, it was kind of luck, I think, in a way. I'm not sure how to better put it. I think it's just don't doubt yourself too much. Of course, when I was working on that project, I was constantly comparing myself to the other studios and other people who work alone. And that's a bad thing. Of course, you do compare yourself because of uh, you want inspiration, but don't compare yourself because of the quality that much. Uh, you do have to, because you need to see what's wrong and what's right, and what's not working in your visual. But just keep going. Maybe not the first project is going to be the winning one, but the fifth one might be. And I think it's important to just not give up on it, um, and try to learn as much as you can. I submitted this project like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna submit it. I saw there's gonna be awards. I saw the requirement. I was like, okay, uh, I don't see the losing side of this. Basically,
One thing's for
even
sure.
if I don't get picked out, I don't get picked out. It's not important. I try to participate. and the upper side is of course winning. So just don't doubt yourself. Just play around, be free, be creative, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's
one
gonna
thing's for
get you.
sure, if you don't participate, you have absolutely no chance to win. If you participate, it may be a small chance, but it's still there, right?
Exactly.
So, and talking about, skills, and because in order to implement personal projects or commercial ones, you need a certain set of skills. And nowadays it's important to stay informed, to stay relevant. You cannot just, work with the skills you had like 10 years ago. So how do you polish your skills? Do you visit courses? Do you explore on your own?
Yeah, both things. I visited the render camp course like a couple of years ago. I explore on different kind of levels, such as uh, looking at the photography. The word VizFast really helped me also because I met a lot of cool people and people who are better than me and at that point were better than me, and it helps to broaden your circle and be in the community. So I think it's cool that you're doing this. I think that when you talk with people, with other people, you can exchange the experiences and learn from that. So that's the way I go. Actually, courses, just trying to stay on track, what's happening in the industry, uh, trying to focus on what really matters, um, and how the realistic uh, visuals come to life. So I think the courses are the best way to start from, and then uh, those courses can teach you the importance and the key things, and then you can just go from that on your own.
Word.
Yeah.
Really cool. Um,
Yeah.
can you still, is there maybe some type of textbook or something apart from the pages that you shared, um, something like this which you always go back to when it comes to, let's say, color theory, or let's say those standard measures that you talked about in the very beginning? Is there a book like that that you can recommend, or a website or whatever? Just some gathering of information that you go back to from time to time.
Not really, actually. I don't know. I have just like a lot of references that I have like in my reference library of the photos of not just my photos, the other people's photos and the renders that they did, and I go back to them. But I'm sorry, but I don't have any book
Everybody's
for.
saying this. It seems like you guys are just so good you don't have any books. I mean, like those books to learn from or get back to. I mean, so that this is just a question. I still hope that someday one of my guests will say, "Yeah, there is this one book that you can learn from," so that we all go and buy it. But for now, this is just a big question mark. We
Yeah. Well, sorry, Theo. I do have like the Mir Way book. I think it's really cool, and a lot of people know about it. That's the one that I go to most, maybe. If
Yeah, that's a
yeah.
when it comes to being getting inspired, when it comes to motivation, to trusting yourself, and the future of you as an artist, this is a great one to go back to. Absolutely agree. So let's change the topic here a bit. We talked about the computer games already enough. We know your favorite game. Do we talk about your favorite game? Was it Horizon?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Nowadays it's crazy. Yeah.
So they had a huge impact on you as an artist. Um, would you say a computer game can be, let's say, a real inspiration for a project, or let's say a reference? I think you have a control themed render. If I'm,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it can really be. I have it on my Instagram account and I have it on the CG Connect account. So if someone wants to see it, they can visit any of those. I think they do. Because as I said, you never know where you can find your inspiration. I was playing like a month ago when we were talking. I was playing. playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I was inspired by the Greece. Not It made me think about the old Greece. So I was inspired by their nature, most of all, because they have a really, really fantastic nature. And the game just gave me that idea, and then I started to research in my own way. So, of course, gaming can be a really good inspo for that. Um, but yeah,
Totally agree. I absolutely agree with you. And apart from gaming, w- what do you do to achieve a healthy work-life balance? Do you have a healthy work-life balance? Maybe is the first question.
I try to. Oh, I've actually just had like kind of a burnout because we have like a lot of work. Uh, yeah, I mean that's good to have a lot of work, but it's not great always for the mind, as I'm sure a lot of people are aware of. But I try to be in touch with like people from my private life, my family and friends. Um, and yeah, I try to read. That's the most recent one. I got back to reading because it's not something that you have to watch the screen. It's not a hobby. I mean, if you have a Kindle, yeah. But that's how I try to balance it and not to. I had a really hard time doing this when I was Uh, younger, starting. But I think that you learn along the way because you learn how much worrying about the work takes out of you. So you have to decide for yourself that you want to be healthy and focus when you're out of work. You're out of work and just think about your hobbies, think about something else. And of course, also exercise works for that like really good. The best case scenario would be like in the TV show Severance, uh, where you don't really know what's happening in your work life when you're outside of it, and vice versa. So, but yeah, this is what we have to deal. So yeah,
Yeah, and stick to your decision. If you decide that you, let's say, for example, in my case, my weekends are just dedicated to the family, my kids, and all. Um, so um, I just stick to this. I know that if I would work on the weekends, if I would do 3D on the weekends, personal projects, I would be a better artist. I would be eventually more successful, but I don't do it. And same with the exercise. Put it on your schedule and go do it, because there's always something which happens which will prevent you from it. And if you let it happen, you'll never come to do it. Unfortunately, there's always work. Work never ends. Like this is just reality.
yeah, exactly. Well, if you're tired, you won't have like the sharp mind that you need for your visuals,
Yeah.
for your products. So yeah.
So even if work is the only thing that is you're interested in, make sure to have pauses from it so that you do it in the best way possible. That's
Of
crucial
course,
factor.
yeah. When I started, I was like so into it. I was constantly thinking about it, but it led me to a huge burnout. So it's not healthy to do one thing no matter how much you like it. It's not really healthy. You
No,
try to do something else.
totally agree with you, and I hope you're way better now. You seem like this.
Yeah, yeah, I am. Thank you.
Um, Final question: do you have, or what's your message for the Chaos Campus, for this lovely, supportive, helpful community? What would you say to them if you have? Yeah, now you have the audience.
Yeah. Well, first off, I would say thank you for being here with me for these 2.5 hours that's going into three. I'm glad that this community really exists, and I'm thankful for you too, Tia. Of course, I didn't actually know that it exists until recently. Uh, and I would actually say that, you know, keep creating. Um, do as many things as you can. Of course, yeah, there's burnouts, but when you have time to work on your projects, don't get frustrated that you have to do it right away. Nothing good ever comes from being fast. and trying to get the instant result. That I think that's something that's a problem with uh, today's society, basically. That everyone wants everything to happen so quickly, but don't do that. Just take your time, and if you're stuck with your project for a couple of days, go rest and go back to it. Even if it's like a month rest, just take your time, because uh, quality takes time,
Difficult to pull
actually.
off with commercial work, but at least with the personal one, it works.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually talking about personal projects, but commercial work is something else.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But still, don't stress. There are more important things in life than 3D. This is important. Even if when you're stuck into something, you think this is like the most important thing right now. But your health, your family, your friends, your personal life are more important. Honestly, this is just. I never, try to educate people for things which are not 3D related. Politics, social stuff, and so on. But honestly, there should be priorities, and you should stick to those priorities. Your health is more important. It's also the basic for your success as an artist. Without health, with like a severe burnout, you're just out. You can't do anything anymore. So yeah,
Exactly. I totally agree with you. What I wanted to say is, until it happens to you, something with your mental health or whatever, you don't really see that it's that big of a deal. Try to avoid that. Try to avoid happening to you, because it eventually will. So, yeah, health comes first always. And when you're not healthy, you see how much important that is. So don't burn yourself up. Uh, do your work because you love it, not because you want to be better than someone or something like that. Have your goals, but try to stay healthy.
and listen to
Because,
people who have already gone through this and tell you about it, so that you don't repeat their not mistake, but don't come to what they had to go through.
yeah, exactly. I think that the first, I just want to say this, on the first World Viz Fest, the Rick Alloy had like a really his story personal about this on his panel, about his mental health versus work, and he really told it well. So I'm not sure if there's a recording of that. Maybe he can tell it again if he is up to it. I'm not putting him here on uh, but yeah, it's important to hear it from someone who is
We've
who
been
been
there.
through it, yeah, who's been there.
Steph, thank you so much for this masterclass and for this incredibly pleasant talk. This was just, I think we can talk for hours, and I really hope to meet you in person so that we can actually do it, but maybe with a drink or something in between. And of course, thanks to all of you, my friends, who also stuck with us for the last almost 3 hours. It's always a pleasure. And of course, with those of you who watch the recording later, hope you had a good time and hope you learned something, because there is a lot to learn from a session like this, and the ones we had so far and the ones that we're going to have in the future. Don't forget, Chaos Campus Live show tomorrow with Deepak from Brick. It's going to be amazing. And also the second episode of the Archviz Masterclass with Nikos on Thursday. Don't miss those, especially the second episode of the Archviz Masterclass, because there is no recording there. Also, tomorrow I'll be off to Berlin for the Beam Spring Meetup 2026, where I'll do some live on-site reviewing among some really stellar speakers from Studio Olafur Eliasson, from Brick, from Bloom Images. And of course, I also meet the fantastic chaos people, Pesi, Jane, Zafira, Bjorn, and let's not forget the lovely organizers of the event, Peter, Artem, Hannes. It's going to be epic. Similar to last time, I'll virtually take you with me through YouTube shorts that I'll be sharing throughout my absence here. So keep an eye on our YouTube channel. Let me share the link. And as always, my friends, stay safe, be healthy. We just talked about it. Be healthy. It's very important. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks for a show with Nikos talking about finding inspiration and creating mood boards. And until then, don't forget to rock on and keep it real, my friends. Much love and goodbye. Ciao, ciao.
Take care. Goodbye.